When you hear the word Philistine, what do you picture? Probably the Bible's ultimate bad guys, right? Goliath's people. But here's what most people don't know. The Philistines weren't just some random tribe of villains. They were one of the most sophisticated civilizations in the ancient world. They had advanced iron technology when Israel was still chipping away with bronze. They had these organized city-states while Israel was just a loose confederation of tribes. And for over 600 years, they didn't just fight Israel, they dominated them. So that's what we're going to explore, the mapped history of the Philistines. And by the end, you'll see why they weren't just a military threat, but a theological one that would change Israel and history forever. So, who were they, really? I mean, where did this powerful, technologically advanced people come from? Their sudden appearance on the world stage was a complete mystery for centuries. But as we're about to see, they were this major civilizational force that God used to shape the destiny of his own people in ways that absolutely no one could have predicted. Okay, let's get right into it. To find the answer to this mystery, we don't start in the land of Canaan. No, we have to look way out across the Great Sea to the Aegean world. You see, their arrival is tied to one of the greatest catastrophes of the ancient world, an event that literally wiped entire empires right off the map. Alright, look at this map. Around 1200 BC, the entire world order just shattered. Historians call it the Bronze Age collapse. And in just 50 years, boom, the Hittite Empire gone. Mycenaean Greece collapsed. Great cities were burned to the ground. Now, Egyptian records from this period talk about these massive invasions by what they called the Sea Peoples. We're talking entire populations on the move fleeing some unknown disaster. And right there in the inscriptions, they specifically mention a group called the Paliset. You guessed it, that's the Egyptian word for Philistines. They tried to invade Egypt but were defeated by Ramesses III. Now, here's the fascinating part. After defeating them, Ramesses didn't destroy them. He settled them right here along the southern coastal plain of Canaan to act as a buffer state to protect Egypt's frontier. Now, for centuries, critics just said, that's just a story. And then, archaeologists started digging in the old Philistine cities, and what they found was absolutely stunning. For instance, the earliest Philistine pottery, it wasn't Canaanite at all, it was Mycenaean, with these very distinctive Greek-style patterns. Their architecture, with its hearth rooms and unique masonry, was straight out of the Aegean. And get this, their diet. Excavations in their cities show they ate a ton of pork, something that was completely unheard of in the surrounding Semitic cultures. And most importantly, their settlements show the sudden appearance of advanced iron-working technology, knowledge they brought with them from their old world. And this is where it gets just incredible. The Bible itself recorded their foreign origins centuries before any of this was proven. The prophet Amos states that God brought the Philistines from Caphtor, which is the ancient Hebrew name for Crete. The archaeology simply confirmed what the text had been saying all along. So how did this band of foreign settlers become so powerful? Well, they established this confederation of 5 major cities, the Pentapolis, that would grow into a regional superpower. And it all started with their brilliant geographical positioning. Take a look at this region on the map. Each city had a very specific strategic role. Gaza down here controlled the gateway to Egypt, and with it, all the trade between Africa and Asia. Ashkelon was a huge international seaport. Ashdod became their religious center, home to the temple of their chief god, Dagon. Ekron was an industrial hub, famous for olive oil. And Gath, that was the military stronghold, Goliath's hometown. And get this, they were ruled by 5 lords, a political structure that's really similar to the Greek city-states, which made them this unified and incredibly resilient force. Now, I want you to notice this valley system right here, sitting between the coastal plain of Philistia and the hill country of Israel. This is the Shephelah, and this geographical zone, it changes everything. It became the buffer zone, the primary battleground where these 2 civilizations would clash for centuries. Nearly every single major battle, including that iconic showdown between David and Goliath, it all took place right here, in these foothills. This was the fault line. But geography wasn't their only advantage. Oh no, the Philistines held the ultimate trump card, a complete monopoly on iron technology. This verse from 1 Samuel is just staggering when you really think about it. Israel couldn't produce their own iron weapons. They couldn't even sharpen their own farm tools without going to a Philistine blacksmith and paying a fee. This wasn't just military dominance, this was economic warfare. So you have to understand, this conflict was not a fair fight, not even close. It was an Iron Age civilization systematically putting the squeeze on a Bronze Age society. You had Israel, with farmers using bronze tools and slingshots, and then you had the Philistines, with professional armies, iron swords, and superior iron plows. They had a massive technological advantage and they used it to keep Israel weak and dependent for generations. This technological gap, it set the stage for the real heart of the conflict. Because the true battle was never just about iron and territory. It went way deeper. It was deeply theological. This was a clash between the God of Israel and the gods of Philistia. And that conflict just boils over and reaches a crisis point in 1 Samuel chapter 4. In a battle at Aphek, Israel gets routed, losing 4,000 men. So in a moment of sheer theological panic, the elders decide to bring the Ark of the Covenant to the battlefield, basically treating it like a magic good luck charm. The result? A catastrophe. The Philistines slaughter 30,000 Israelites. And then, the unthinkable happens. The Ark of God is captured. This was Israel's darkest hour. The high priest's daughter-in-law names her newborn son Ichabod, which means the glory has departed, because the very symbol of God's presence was now a war trophy in the hands of their enemies. And the central question just hung over all of Israel. Has the God of Abraham been defeated by the Philistine fish god Dagon? But then, God answered. The Philistines placed the ark in Dagon's temple, and the next morning, Dagon's statue had fallen on its face before it. So they set it back up. The next day, it had fallen again, only this time its head and hands were broken off. Then plagues of tumors and sheer panic swept through the Philistine cities, wherever the ark was taken. You see, the Philistines learned a lesson that Israel had forgotten. God is not a weapon to be used. He is holy, he is sovereign, and he defends his own reputation. He doesn't need an army. This whole theological war builds to its ultimate climax in the Valley of Elah. And here you see the clash of two worldviews, embodied in two champions. On one side, you've got Goliath of Gath, 9 feet tall, covered in 125 pounds of bronze armor, armed with this massive iron-tipped spear. He trusts in human strength and technology. And on the other side, David of Bethlehem, a shepherd boy with no armor and a simple sling. And David, in this moment, makes the entire purpose of the conflict crystal clear with this powerful declaration. This isn't about him, it's not even about Israel. The whole point of this fight is so that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. It was a demonstration of Yahweh's power on the world stage, proving that the Lord doesn't save with sword and spear because the battle is his. David's victory was the turning point. After he becomes king, he systematically neutralizes the Philistine threat, pushing them back to their coastal cities for good. And from that point on, history itself would deliver its final, prophetic verdict on these two civilizations. And what's so fascinating is that Israel's prophets foretold the end of the Philistines centuries in advance. Amos prophesied that the remnant of the Philistines shall perish. Zephaniah predicted that Gaza would be deserted and Ashkelon would become a desolation. And that's exactly what happened. The Assyrians shattered their power in 721 BC. The Babylonians took them into exile in 586 BC. And by the time of the Greek conquest, the Philistines, who were once this mighty superpower, had completely vanished from history as a distinct people. So when we look back, what do we take away from this entire 600-year saga? Well, there are 5 crucial lessons. 1. God uses opposition to discipline and refine his people. 2. Technological and military superiority do not guarantee victory. 3. Compromise with pagan culture always leads to oppression. 4. Human solutions like demanding a king can't fix what are ultimately spiritual problems. And 5. God's covenant faithfulness outlasts any human empire. And this is the final, stark verdict of history. The number of people who identify as Philistines today is 0. They're extinct. Their language, their culture, their gods, all of it gone. Meanwhile, Israel, despite exile and persecution, survived. Why? Because they had a covenant with a living God. This ancient story leaves us with a very modern question. The battle is still the Lord's. So who are the Philistines, those seemingly insurmountable challenges in your world? And more importantly, when you face those giants, where are you placing your trust? In the armor and iron of human strength, or in the name of the Lord of hosts?